Thank you for being here. My name is Kareem Kuchandani, and I'm the Emory Foundation Postdoctoral Fellow in the Center for Women's and Gender Studies. And I'm really excited to host this event because I have the pleasure to present people who I think are doing some of the coolest things in Austin. Bands, bars, DJs, organizers, and even our moderator is an important contributor to Austin's queer community. So I may have only been here for like a year now, but it quickly became clear to me who in the queer community was thinking more thoughtfully about how to foster a queer nightlife that was more inclusive than the ubiquitous gay bar. In the Queer Nightlife graduate seminar that I'm leading with a group of very insightful and charismatic students who range from a wide variety of disciplines, we learned very quickly that nightlife is politics. That the absence of a women's or gender-neutral restroom in a bar leaves many people feeling like they have no citizenship in the space. That the closing time of bars across the city has everything to do with the city and the state's expectation that we conform to heteronormative capitalist time. We've learned that dancing can make you feel free when the world makes you feel shackled every day, and that economic transactions are taking place well beyond the bartender's till. We've learned this by reading texts by a range of scholars, but also by going to the bars ourselves. Our experiences there are always unpredictable, but still so much goes into curating, rehearsing, and developing those experiences for us. There's an art to nightlife, and there are politics too. Today we welcome several folks in the Austin community who are laboring to reorient our experience of the night by offering sober options, diverse programming, songs in multiple languages, lyrics that critique state violence, parties for queer people in other parts of the city. They're activists of the night, changing the politics of our pleasure.
I do wear many hats. I am a filmmaker. I consider myself an artist. I consider myself someone in the community. And so for me, I'm really thankful to be asked to moderate this panel. And I've been thinking a lot about how I'm seeing all this in terms of queer nightlife, because I'm not a performer. You know, I don't own a venue. I don't DJ or throw a party anywhere. But I do attend these things, and I do very much consider this part of the greater LGBTQ community. So for me, this is where I'm going to be coming from. I think we can all agree that there is a connection between queerness and creativity. And I think we can also start thinking about how when you have these spaces, right, that usually start in these areas of bars, night cabarets, whether that be something in, Berlin pre-World War II, or the Black Cat in East Los Angeles in the 70s, or maybe even something like Camp, which was here in Austin, Texas, around mid 2000s, a queer performance night. I think these are places where you have people starting to acknowledge each other, interacting, sharing ideas, sharing experiences, and in the process of doing that, there's a community that's formed. But also in the process of doing that, I think it fuels a sense of activism and potentially can lead to, or it leads to a potential activism, I think. So I'm very interested to speak to everyone here and thinking about these spaces that are created, this artwork that is created, what are the messages that are being given out, what are the thoughts that are planted into our head, and what are things that we start thinking about.
I can say that Body Rock ATX, one of the things that we certainly provide is a space for there to be intersecting communities. I think that's really critical in a space like Austin, Texas, that is seen, even if you don't live here, outside of Austin. Actually, there's a lot of reports of people like calling me up like, oh my gosh, I didn't know it was so segregated. There's all these articles about how segregated Austin is, and it is rather segregated once you get into the mix of things. So Body Rock ATX is a space where we call for the intersecting of all peoples so that we can start to dissolve certain walls and ideologies and allow ourselves to just vibe with people and feel people as beings.
What's available on 4th Street is not what everybody's into. So I just wanted to do a party really for myself and for my friends with Susia. I have a lot of really cool DJ friends and a lot of really talented producer friends who just happen to be gay and they're in town. And they don't really have anywhere that's like a home base for them, you know what I mean?
Trying to find a space for myself, and it evolved into from food truck with dance parties selling hummus at 3 a.m. to, you know, jumping into a bar and then kind of wanting that to be a coffee shop, but ending up being a bar, and then the parties in the parking lot, and just it kind of evolved on its own organically into this really beautiful queer space that I had always dreamed of being at.
So the parties, we try to take them outside of, you know, the clubs, because not everyone feels safe there. Yeah, just generally trying to reframe what a club night could look like.
Create music where queer and people of color, queer people of color can feel comfortable and safe.
And my space, for me personally, revolved around music, and I wanted to go to a bar and hear LCD Sound System and Britney Spears like at the same time, and Selena and some K-pop and whatever the hell else I wanted to listen to, you know. So it was purely selfish when I started it about 5 years ago, and that's what it revolved around, and it's turned into something. It's just turned into something much larger than that I ever anticipated.
Restructuring the space. So like if you have a lot of power in the real world, like maybe you don't have so much power at these parties. And you know, if you're visible in casual society, like maybe, you know, you have to take some steps back, like coming to our parties, because we want to recenter like what it means, what our community needs, you know, especially as a microcosm of greater Austin. So I think that's like our identity, our definition of like queering a space.
What we try to do is create moments that you can be something, or you can feel something, or you can become something safely in our space without judgment, without somebody coming down and saying you can't wear that, or you know, that looks weird.
My party started off, it's on a Tuesday night, and there were like 20 people there 5 years ago, and now it's evolved into 700 to 1,000 people that come out every Tuesday night. When I first started the night, I was thinking, who the hell is going to party on a Tuesday night? And like, you know, these people have like jobs and school and stuff the next morning, but it just kind of turned into something that was really popularized, and it's something I can't control. And it's something that I'm not trying to control.
It was just getting too packed. Like literally our last party, like the ceiling was coming down, and it was for real. Like it was just crazy, and it was a hard decision for us to make because we knew we were going to lose a lot of that essence of what the East Side is about by moving to Empire downtown. But we also had to understand that we are trying to grow this party. We are trying to bring more people out and have this experience. So it's like you have to always weigh those things out. As someone that's curating a space, you have to have these conversations with your community, with your fans, with people that, your family, the ones that you trust, and ask them like, is this cool or not? And trust me, there are people that's like, no, it's not cool. And you know, we had to, you know, deal with that and think about what that meant for us, you know, to be downtown as opposed to being on the East Side. But
What, I don't know if any, and this is a personal belief, I don't know if any action can ever be apolitical. I think that just in our existence and believing the way that we do, feeling the way that we do, just in going about our day-to-day, especially as artists and as creators and creating spaces, I think that just by doing what comes naturally is a political statement in a way. And for us,
but I think part of being at a queer space and part of queer nightlife is the protest and is the, you know, looking to see who you identify with. And that's, I don't know, I've never really been able, at least at Cherub Tries, to see it not be that way, whatever our event is. And we do host a lot of punk shows. We just
Big time. Sometimes I feel like if I could pick everything up and drive it or fly it or move it over to Portland or Paris, wherever, somewhere a little bit more liberal, a little bit more accommodating, do I dare say? You know, being in the city sometimes is super frustrating, dealing with permitting and coding and being completely in the dark with what you are supposed to do. And then when someone like the Hyatt wants to tear down your wall and you have no say in it, and then you start asking questions and they start saying you have no right to ask these questions, you know, it's super frustrating. It's super disenfranchising. You know, you don't really know why you're doing what you're doing at that point.
I think the way direction Austin's moving with so much money coming in, and just from my experience this last year, just seeing how 4th Street's changed with the opening of Highland Lounge, I think overall mainstream gay culture is just going to get worse in Austin, if anything. Yeah, I mean, because there just isn't any opportunity, and they're really not taking any chances or challenging anything, really. I mean, it really is just a business. It really, that's just what it is from my experiences working with these people.
To piggyback off that, I think also it can be very kind of like looming or kind of like this doomsday when we think about the city and what it's not doing to support culture. But I also always want to emphasize that we have so much power. You know, basically, you know, people of color, queer people of color create a lot of culture. And the city is just not going to be able to sustain the interest of people without that bedrock creating places for people to have incredible experiences. And I think there's a lot that may be up against those communities. However, the more that we solidify the confidence in the value of what we provide in metropolitan areas, even small cities, whatever it is, we can galvanize that kind of power. So, you know, to kind of go off what
I want to thank you all, and I want to offer one more observation perspective. One of the ways that we think about queer is not just identity politics, but also bodies in touch with each other, other ways of finding bodily intimacy, and just thinking through my experiences at your events and parties, and the way Taz described that sort of the kindness of slamming someone down and bringing them back up and keeping them safe, or just the very, very sweaty bodies in touch with each other at Barbarella, or the kinds of opportunities you allowed Body Rock for Black women to model their hair and their head wraps at the Erica Badu party. But these ways that you allow bodies to find intimacy and pleasure in themselves, and sexiness and eroticism, I think, matters to queerness, and that we can do consensually in safer spaces. Things like that I think really matter. And so even though we haven't talked as much about the body politics of queer spaces, I wanted to acknowledge that you do a lot of that already, and I think that that's something we need to think about as we think about queerness as well. But I want to thank each and every one of you. I didn't know most of you or any of you when I assembled this panel. I met in and I'm more than grateful and very, very pleased at the conversation you produced. And I want to thank those who asked questions for participating in this conversation. Please continue talking. And I, as people who work behind the scenes or behind sort of a booth or something, and it's kind of wonderful to hear your voices in this setting and that setting, and to hear the kind of theory you bring to the work that you do. And so I'm really, really grateful. And again, I'm grateful to our sponsors for making this possible. You'll see rotating next week's event. DJ Rick is a queer South Asian DJ who is the person who brought Bhangra to the US, and often gets left out of the major South Asian sort of canon of musicians. She's both giving a talk here in the afternoon with and doing a sort of interview with a few folks, and then at night she's DJing at Stargazer, the Stargazer Festival at Charlie's. That's happening there. So I would love for you to come to that as well. Thank you all again. Please give them a round of applause.